Senate Resolutions 173, which supports the Imiloa Astronomy Center to further its role in developing and leading educational efforts concerning the cultural, natural, and historic resources on Mauna Kea at Halepohaku, and encouraging the transfer of education outreach at the Halepohaku to the Imiloa Astronomy Center.
So I think the Visitor Information Station on Mauna Kea has been in operation since the mid-'80s, if I'm not mistaken, and interim director of the Institute for Astronomy is here, Bob McLaren, whom the VIS currently falls under jurisdiction. Imiloa was created and built and opened in 2006, so we came a long way later, but our sole mission is to be a educational outreach center that supports our community by sharing the stories of Mauna Kea from a cultural, natural, and astronomical perspective. So we've been serving now for over 13 years, a little over 13 years, reached over 1 million people with our mission, both local and global, all with a message of bringing culture and science together for the benefit of our community and of our keiki. So we think that it's a important and critical next step for Imiloa to expand its role within the university's kuleana on the mountain, where it concerns education and outreach. And we think Imiloa is poised well to help now support the further development and outreach efforts physically on the mountain, since Imiloa is in Hilo. So we look forward to that opportunity and have currently been working with staff of the VIS and of IFA to start doing some staff training and some minor exhibit upgrades and some programmatic partnerships. So we've been moving in that step on a grassroots level for the past couple of years. So this, I think, Senate concurrent resolution will help to further support those efforts.
So just a couple of things. This reso and both the concurrent reso, in some ways, I guess, duplicates or reinforces one of the conditions for the 30-meter telescope in its conservation district use special conditions.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And I think this reso even originated from the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs.
Correct.
At their annual convention in the fall. Thanks for coming down, Bob. Appreciate it. You can just state your name and who you are.
Bob McLaren. I'm interim director at the Institute for Astronomy.
So I guess your role as the interim director of IFA, you are the, I guess, how would you say it? You're in charge of Mauna Kea Support Services.
It reports, yeah,
it reports, the chain of command reports to the director of IFA.
That's correct.
So does IFA support the Imiloa taking over education and outreach at the Halepohaku site or at the VIS or in the UH's managed role of Mauna Kea?
In the larger context, yes. We certainly support the goal of having Imiloa play a major role in the formulation and execution of education and outreach. Actually, I might take this opportunity to make a sort of a historical comment on, or observation. You know, when Imiloa was set up back in 2006, or the planning before that, one of the goals was if we put the cultural aspect and that at sea level, it would reduce the amount of visitor traffic on the mountain. And there's a lot of skepticism that was actually work, but I think that what's happened, what you see here, is actually a kind of a confirmation of that skepticism, that we need Imiloa on the mountain as well. So I think that's in line with this skepticism at the time that it should all be at sea level. I think as Caillou referred to, I think there are operational details and so on that need to be talked through and worked out to see to what extent we need to combine the change in the content aspect of it with changes in the actual administration aspect. So they're just details that need to be worked out.
What role does the Office of Mauna Kea Management and the Mauna Kea Management Board have at Halepohaku? Are they in an advisory capacity, or they are in the current leadership structure, the decision-making command?
Well, they certainly play an advisory role on just about everything that goes on, because that's their mission. I think their major sort of activity is the ranger program.
Right.
Right, and that's Office of Mauna Kea Management. So I think that's their major visible activity at the mid-level and on the mountain.
So really it's MKSS and IFA. That's...
Well, MKSS is a service organization that was set up to provide the observatories with the services they need. So they're really a service organization that their role is to provide things that the observatories need. They have an oversight committee with representatives from each of the observatories that provide advice, to provide guidance on the budget, decide how much they can afford on certain things. So they're a service organization. And at the current time, at least, the visitor station operation is integrated into the other things that they do, such as the food and lodging, the road maintenance, snow removal, et cetera. It's an integrated operation. And so in order to, if one were to remove the visitor station activity entirely from that, you'd have to make some changes in the personnel relationships, and you'd have to be sure that you had a way of doing the funding adequately and that kind of thing. So those are the kind of details that need to get talked through.
How important is education? Like, pretty much, if you visited the Imiloa, I mean, you know what, how special a place it is, and how it does a fantastic job at education outreach. And how important is that to have at the Halepohaku site?
Extremely important.
Yeah.
I mean, for the reasons that are stated in the resolution and also acknowledged in the testimony.
So would IFA or would be willing to propose a revised management structure for the Halepohaku site that has the executive director of Imiloa as a basically at co-level on an organizational chart, where that in that capacity would serve as the education and outreach coordinator?
Yeah, I think those kind of conversations have already begun, Senator.
Who would approve that? The regents would ultimately approve that?
No, I don't think it would go to that level. I think it probably at the chancellor level, the chancellors involved would have to be in line with that. And of course the units, the Imiloa themselves, and the Institute, we have responsibility for MKSS now.
So Chancellor of UH Ilo, Chancellor of UH Manoa, and also... Formally
at least, although yeah. I'd say that the Chancellor of UH Ilo was more involved in mountain activities than the Manoa Chancellor at the present time. Right? So,
because that's what I would like to see. If education outreach is so important, if it's in one of the TMT conditions, it's in a reso by the ledge, that if we're going to go that route, then let's reorganize IFA at the Halepohaku site, the organizational structure of it, so that the executive director of IFA and the executive director of Imiloa are co-equal partners at Halepohaku. You do everything you do here with MKSS, and OMKM does their rangers, and you provide for the telescopes and all that. And then the Imiloa executive director manages community education, outreach, awareness, and then we can look at maybe the telescopes contributing to an enhanced footprint and help us with the CIP aspect of it, so that we can build a reasonably sized education outreach center, more than what we have at the Viz, right? Because the Viz is beyond capacity.
yes.
If you go up there on an evening, there's 400 people. There's hardly anywhere to park. The restroom facilities are overburdened, and for us to do what we're doing at Imiloa, even on a smaller scale, it will be nearly impossible under the current facility that we have there. So that's what I would like to see. When can we look at that? Can you help champion that, Bob?
Yeah.
Great.
And the discussions are starting now already on the organizational aspects.
Okay. Can you take that back to UH Ilo, Kaio?
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mahalo nui loa.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, Chair, you have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.